Alright, my happy crumpers, welcome back to the channel. Today, we have a really important subject to talk about. This is actually one of the requested videos and subjects that a lot of my coaching clients have been asking for. So I've been going through a lot of coaching series where we're talking about how do we deal with the beast of the Yncarne. Because the Yncarne is a super powerful model that really has the potential to just dramatically define the entire game when you're running into the Eldar players who are bringing the Yncarne. He's also pretty awesome, so I don't really fault them for bringing him. But if you don't know how to deal with it, you're likely to run into a couple of little small errors that you're going to make, which is basically just going to guarantee the Eldar player wins. So how do we handle this so that it's not a problem in the future? Let's find out. And if you want to be one of those people who have the inside scoop on this, you can join the members only side of the Discord where we constantly chat about high levels of tactics. And if you want to be even more on the in the scoop, you can join the Adeptus Custodes. That is my coaching service. And I've got the links down to that in my Ko-Fi down below. So without further ado, let's learn how to deal with this freaking beast. The big bad Yncarne. First thing we gotta do is define what it does so that everyone understands how it operates. It is actually a huge freaking problem. Now, it is expensive. It's 350 points, which is a really big increase from where it was previously, which was like 270 or something. But anyway, it was a huge points increase, and it's still an excellent model. Still an excellent choice. So it's very tanky. It takes half damage. So if you're shooting a bunch of damage 2 into it, only damage 1. Doesn't really care. It's T10, which is already having a bunch of things wounding it on 6s naturally. If you're shooting with Meltas, you're wounding it on 5s. Not great. And on top of all that, it's likely going to be -1 to be wounded because he probably has a individual Farseer who's going to be giving him the buff to be -1 to wound in the command phase. And that is a lot. So when you get to half damage, T10, -1 to wound, this thing becomes hard to kill. It is not easy at all. I liken him to the same as Mazrog Scragbad, maybe a little harder to kill because it also has a 2-up armor save. So where Mazrog only has a 3-up. So it's like give or take a little bit here. Anyway, it has a very strong flamer. It's a D3 damage, strength 7. So it's got a great overwatch, and it also can just hit quite well. But the reason why and it's got reasonable melee. Its melee is pretty good. I think it's got 5 attacks. It's going to be D6 plus 2 damage. It's pretty good melee, AP 4. And where it has a sweep attack that's 10, but it's only damage 1. So give it or take it. It's got good enough melee though. The trick with this bad boy is once per phase, not turn, phase, it gets to teleport to a slain unit anywhere on the field. And the way it works is the last model in the unit that dies, the Yncarne has to teleport as close as possible to that last model. So this is how the other players get to mess you up. So it is actually still eligible to shoot, and it's still eligible to charge. So let's say you have a, I don't know, Sisters of Battle squad that's hanging out in your backfield, and they ended up killing it with some indirect shooting. Well, the Yncarne's going to teleport there turn 1, and you're going to have an Yncarne in your backfield that you're not prepared to handle turn 1. That is a really big deal. It's also going to be able to charge your evil shooting unit that you just don't want to have charged because it's going to come from an unexpected angle. That's what this thing does. But there are a lot of ways that we can actually handle it. So let's figure out what those ways are. Let's talk about the Eldar's general strategy. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to be taking what's called a Night Spinner, which is an indirect firing platform that has devastating wounds and twin links. It essentially has everything. And it's got blast. It's got every keyword that you can think of. So basically what happens is they're going to take 1 or 2 of these, and they're going to shoot and kill an easy-to-kill target. Or if they're running 3 of them, they might shoot and kill a fairly hard-to-kill target, like a truck or a rhino or something like that, which aren't hard, but for indirect, that can be considered hard. And what happens is the second that this model dies, the Yncarne has to be placed as close as possible to that model. So basically those 2 Night Spinners shoot and they kill the Sisters of Battle squad or whatever, and then the Yncarne teleports down. It can then at that point in time say he drew capture enemy outpost. It can charge onto your home field. Let's say they drew deploy teleport homers. It can do deploy teleport homers for 5 points in your backfield. Let's say they drew whatever. That's what happens, okay? It can do its actions, it can shoot, it can charge. And that is pretty powerful. So how do we affect this? How do we deal with this? We got to deal with this freaking beast. So the first step is that you're going to need to deny its teleport shenanigans. And what this means is very simply, don't give it any targets that they can kill with indirect. Easier said than done, I know. But let's say I'm running Custodes, and I did this in a teaching stream a little bit while back. Maybe I can post it in the comments. But I show you how I do this. But I take my Sisters of Silence squads, which are very easy to kill from the indirect shooting of the Eldar, and I just put them in reserve. So at this point in time, the Eldar player doesn't have the option of teleporting to my backfield because his Night Spinners won't kill my Custodians, my Custodian blobs, right? So at that point in time, okay, these shenanigans are kind of defunct. So that's one way to handle it. Let's say you're playing Sisters of Battle and you have so many units you can't strat reserve all of them. Well, one thing that you can do is you can just embark them. Very easy. You put them in their rhinos and their immolators and their whatevers. I play Orcs, and that's my main army, guys. I can easily put everything in reserves or put everything in a truck. And a truck is not easy to kill. He's gambling if he's going to try to shoot all 3 of his Night Spinners into the truck. Which is great for me, because at that point in time, if he does fail it, he didn't slow any of my units down. So you give them bad choices. Now, the other option, let's say you can't strat reserve or embark everything, is you only give the Yncarne a crappy place to teleport. So let's say you only have one unit and you put them in a corner so that you can score a early investigate signals. Well, you can put your unit there, and let's say they kill it and they teleport the Yncarne there. Well, the Yncarne is going to be kind of ineffective there anymore because it's going to be too far away from the rest of your units to be able to charge or shoot. So it's kind of just hanging out there doing nothing, which is generally pretty good for you. So that's one way to handle it. However, there's another way to handle it, and I call it the bait and trap, and that's how I like to deal with the Yncarne, because I like to punish my Eldar opponents for using this oppressive beast, and I want to deny them any hope at joy in the future. Maybe not any hope, but hope at joy with playing with their toys for this particular game. And then lastly, you have to understand, how are you going to actually damage this thing? Because it is half damage. So in all reality, damage 1 is king. You need lots of damage 1 into this thing, because any of your big shots, it has a 4-up invuln, it has a 2-up armor save, it's going to be in cover. They're just not going to go through effectively. And even if it's like damage 4, well, it's only going to be damage 2. It's just really, really rough. So you're going to want to put a bunch of damage 1. And dev wounds are king here. So Votann love this thing, because Votann are going to shoot those Earthguard, and they're going to get like, I don't know, 10 dev wounds with their silly, stupid guns. I forgot what they're called. Vulcanite break the gamers. So you really, really like a lot of damage 1 and a lot of dev wounds here. So I'm going to show you with my Orcs, and I'm going to take you to the CTS view in just a moment. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. But this is how I deal with the Yncarne. What I do is I very specifically give them one amazing target. I'm just going to leave a unit of Gretchen out. And Gretchen are easy to kill. So if my opponent wants to take the bait, what they're going to do is they're going to pop those Gretchen. They're going to kill them with the Night Spinners. It's not going to be hurt at all. Gretchen don't even have an armor save. And the Yncarne is then going to teleport down, and it's going to be like, huzzah! I'm on your home field now, and you're screwed. But I have trapped them. What I do is I make sure I kill the last Gretchen in a position that is advantageous for me. So the Eldar player, if they take the bait, they drop the Yncarne down, and then at that point, okay, they can charge a target. Maybe they even kill the target they charge. I'm not super happy about it, but maybe they do. Well, now, in my turn, I get to grenades them, I get to shoot them, I get to tank shock them, and then I get to kill them with one of my many anti-monster vehicle 4-up devastating wound sources that I have in the Orcs. If you don't play Orcs, that's okay. This applies to essentially everyone. Every army, besides Custodes, I think, has access to the grenade stratagem, and every army has access to tank shock. So this general strategy is going to work for anyone. I'm just going to go ahead and show you on the TTS view exactly how it works for the particular army that I'm running right now. So let's check it out. All right, so I've got a little bit of a deployment map set up here. So this is just a little hammer and anvil. I've got Mazrog hanging out in the middle. I've got some trucks full of stuff. I got another truck, I got my Squig Hogs, I got some Def Coptas, I got a bunch of stuff in reserves or inside the trucks, and then I have this one unit of Gretchen hanging out right here. So my opponent is Eldar, and they draw capture enemy outpost turn 1. Right? Let's say they draw capture enemy outpost turn 1. And typically you want to discard capture enemy outpost. But this guy's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go kill these Gretchen. I'm just going to teleport back there and be on his home field, and I'm going to take it from him. So let's do it. We have 3, I know these are Falcons, but pretend these are Night Spinners. These 3 Night Spinners shoot, and they start killing Gretchen. And I got to figure out, how do I want to kill the Gretchen? Well, I want this Yncarne to be in an inconvenient place for me, and I don't really want him charging me right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill this Gretchen first. I'm going to kill him sequentially, just like this. Boop, 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 until I get to the very last one. And the very last one is this guy. Now, when this Gretchen dies, that's where the Yncarne has to teleport. It doesn't have a choice. It has to teleport as close as possible to the last model that dies. So essentially what happens is before you remove this last model, like I'll go ahead and remove all of these guys. So you just flip them over. This Yncarne was going to have to be placed as close as absolutely possible. So now this guy, so your Eldar player gets to choose where is as close as possible. They could choose to place it here as close as possible, or if they want to charge my truck, for example, they can place it here for that sweet, sweet 8-inch charge. Now, in this particular scenario that we have put out there, the Yncarne is here to steal my objective so he can score capture enemy outpost turn 1, which, as of right now, the Yncarne has officially done. Okay, that's a big problem. Now, for a lot of armies, if you don't have a way of dealing with this Yncarne, you are screwed. So if you want to use this bait and trap situation, you have to do what I've done and make an army that has the ability to handle this Yncarne. So now we go on into my turn. And in my turn, it's really very simple. I'm not going to disembark any of my infantry because I don't want her to eat me with the, what do we call them? Oh, silly bears. With the flamer. So we don't want her to overwatch anything successfully. So I just take my truck and I'm going to put my truck right here. So it's going to have a very, very easy charge for its tank shock. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my squig hogs right here. And they're going to have a very easy charge. And then they're going to throw 2 squig bombs. So those 2 squig bombs are going to get thrown. And the Yncarne is going to go ahead and take, let's say both hit, because let's just say they do. Now the Yncarne is going to take 4 mortal wounds. So the Yncarne drops down by 4 wounds. Okay, I haven't shot anything yet. That's just the movement from the squig hogs. Yes, I know I have to move them to keep them all in coherency. Cool. So now it's down by 4 wounds. Then what we're going to do is we go into our shooting phase. So in our shooting phase, I'm going to go ahead and throw grenades. So that's going to be 6 dice, and on average, you're going to get 3 of them. So just for math of this video's sake, we're going to say that these are all going to be average. So we take another 3 mortals on her. So she's now suffered 7 mortal wounds. Uh-oh, now she's starting to get a little frustrated. And oh, maybe this wasn't the best idea. Now my Coptus can shoot her, but she's got cover, she's got an invuln, and she's having damage. So let's say that doesn't really do all that much damage. No big deal. Well, now in the charge phase, my truck is going to charge, and it's going to tank shock, and it has a T10 weapon, so that's going to be 10 dice. On average, that should lead us with 4 mortal wounds. Tank shock, she takes 5 mortal wounds here, but let's just say it's 4. So now she's taken 4 from my squig bomb, she's taken 4 from tank shock, and she's taken 3 from grenades. So before we even start, she's already taken 11 wounds, and I'm pretty sure she only has 1 wound left. Let me just look that up so I'm not telling any fibs. Yncarne has 12 wounds. So yeah, now she only has 1 wound left. At this point, my squig hogs just come on in, and I've got some dev wounds when I do the charge there. Or when I do the attacks. So she just immediately dies. So my opponent trades their very threatening 350-point unit for 8 victory points. Which, by the way, is not always the worst trade, but in the mathematics of Warhammer, you generally only want to trade 100 points worth of units for 4.3 victory points. So it's still a bad trade for him. But he didn't think he was going to he thought he was going to get away with it. He thought he was just going to put the Yncarne there and we weren't going to be able to handle it. Now, not every army has access to squig bombs. So take those 4 wounds off. Every army has access to grenades and they have access to the tank shock. So you can reliably do 7 mortals to her at this point. With the shooting that most other armies have access to, that will be enough to handle her. Most armies can handle the Yncarne, even with the -1 to wound. Make sure you don't forget tank shock and you don't forget your grenades. You need to handle her. A little pitfall to look out for, make sure that when you're playing this and you're going for all this, you don't, and this is very, very important, let's make sure that we do not shoot other units. Because if you're shooting other units in the Eldar army and say you kill a unit of warp spiders, boom, your opponent's going to pick the avatar, the Yncarne up, and it's going to teleport them across the battlefield to where those warp spiders were, and now you're no longer going to be able to kill her. So this bait and trap works really, really well. You have to have a CP for grenades. You have to have a CP for tank shock, and then whatever else your army has. Sisters have tons of. They've got miracle dice. They can put enough damage through. Other armies have different mechanisms. You've got ways to deal with the Yncarne. There might be a army out there that can't, but there might be a army out there that can. Okay, this works. Now everyone's asking me, well, Jonathan, what if my opponent's not dumb or not not going to go for the bait I set them? Awesome. They didn't go for it. That's great. That means that the Yncarne's not doing any of the nonsense that's going to mess with you. And at this point in time, you are happy. So, my grots and gets, my happy crumpers, thank you so much for your attention. If you'd like to say thank you for the content that I put out, you can join the members only section of the Discord, or you can sign up for coaching at my coffee link. You can also just go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, and type a little comment in the comment section. All that helps me tremendously, and I super appreciate all of your support. If you like the way that I've presented of how to handle the Yncarne, go ahead and just tell me. And if you hate it, tell me as well. I do tend to respond to every single comment in the comment sections. And until next time, you beautiful grots and gits, crump on, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.